Welcome to News Now, your highlights of the week's news and views. In News Now this week, education. South Africa's primary schools, high schools, colleges, technicons, all those teachers and lecturers, all those learners and students, all that stuff that happens in classrooms, it swallows the biggest chunk of the national budget, about 173 billion rand this year. Yet many people wonder where that money goes, because often there seems little evidence of good education. Now, whose fault is that? Outcomes-based education? Did you understand it? Did the politicians who agreed to impose it understand it? Did the teachers who had to teach it understand it? The youngsters in the classrooms, did they understand it? 5 million people in South Africa are illiterate. They never went to school. Another 5 million are functionally illiterate, which means they left school before grade 7. That's 10 million people, a fifth of the population. Many of you drive cars, which you regard as a transport necessity. You'll know the cost involved, the burden of actually buying a vehicle, paying the constantly increasing price of fuel, paying through your nose for car insurance, not to mention the cost of repairs. Then there's the cost of toll roads. You pay your taxes, and that's another burden, and there's a tax in the petrol price. So why do you have to pay again for road maintenance? The row over Gauteng's freeway toll system hasn't settled yet, and even more toll roads are going to be built. People are standing up to government's constant squeeze on motorists' pockets and saying, enough.
Then there's the speed limit on our roads. The government is proposing a maximum of 100 kilometers an hour countrywide. To save lives, they say. But is an extra 20 kilometers an hour really the culprit? Is it speed that kills, or stupidity, arrogance, impatience, drunkenness? As an expert tells us, imposing a lower speed limit will cost the country many millions to replace road signs, produce new handbooks and maps. Lower speed will mean longer journeys on our long roads, and fatigue is already a big killer. What about tougher enforcement of existing laws first?
Culture, history, and religion are often used to defend the indefensible. And denying women the right to vote in the 21st century simply because they're women is one of those indefensible issues. The King of Saudi Arabia seems to have accepted that, and he probably heard the sound of revolution not too far away, and is finally giving women the right to vote in that country. In local municipal elections, there's no such thing as a democratic national election there, and only from 2015. And women still need the permission of a male legal guardian to be candidates or to vote. And they're still not allowed to drive. So how would they get around to canvass support or get to polling stations? In fact, soon after the king's announcement about the vote, a woman was sentenced to be whipped for driving a relative to hospital.
His predecessor was kicked out because of corruption. Now the current National Police Commissioner, General kykNET, may be shown the door too. He acted unlawfully in closing deals worth almost 1.7 billion rands for new police headquarters, the Public Protector found. And talk of political shenanigans have made President Jacob Zuma decide he'd better watch his back. Now there's pressure on Zuma to ask General kykNET to hand over his gun, his badge, his official car and mansion and move on. But will he do it?
News Now, the magazine for busy people, on sale now.